Hi everyone, my name is Johannes. Yeah, here's Dario, who's with me, working for me since the last 6 months almost. And yeah, one reason why we're here tonight is that we are starting next week to have our products here in the shop finally. So SchneidersLaden is the first shop worldwide having Dadamachines products in a retail store, and we're just finishing production of the second batch of our toolkit, what you see here, tomorrow, and shipping the packages to all the customers who did pre-orders. And I'm gonna talk a bit about the Automat Toolkit, the product you see here. And yeah, the idea about the Automat Toolkit was that I wanted to make music machines, which was something which is there in science, in art, and like, yeah, this, like, also DIY circles for quite a while already. I wanted to make that accessible, so I was doing my master thesis here in Berlin, 2014, in product design, and I was looking into designing a plug-and-play toolkit for music machines. And yeah, the Automat, which is this little unit here, is like the translation device between MIDI messages to DC voltages, but not like 5 volts or 10 volts like Eurorack systems have it. It's actually 24 volts and quite a lot of current. And the outputs can drive the solenoids we have here, or you see here, or you can also attach LEDs, turning motors, gear motors, valves for air pressure, for water. Yeah, before I did design the Automat, what you could get on the market looked pretty much like this. This is a board from Highly Liquid, or Depfer also had a board called MTC 64, yeah, which looked like that. And yeah, it wasn't really friendly for musicians to plug stuff in, make a setup fast, and start making mechanical or machine music. And yeah, the place where I did my research with a friend of mine was in Munich for theater. We built a large installation for a piece for children's and youth theater in Munich, and the piece was 20,000 miles beyond sea level. And here's a like a backstage video I'm gonna show you now, with like 300 of the motors, and like a standard kit has like 12. So this setup was like the backstage where we're building for like a year for like this whole machine for theater. And yeah, like there's a lot of wires, there's a lot of things which broke like in the process until we figured out to make a reliable controlling system. And yeah, it's not only the solenoids, it's also like relays, like driving 220 volts. Then we translated from here to like valves for air pressure. So the drum kit was with Festo air pressure valves. And yeah, we tried a lot of things and basically boiled everything down to a simple to use controller in the end. And everything was then controlled in one Ableton set. And the theater was shown like 240 times in 1.5 years. And yeah, everything worked fine. And yeah, there's a small trailer video actually from this theater play.
Zentrale Kommandoeinheit online. Hilfsakkumulatoren für Einspeisung vorbereiten.
Der Garten Eden auf dem Meeresgrund.
Das Meer ist das Medium eines übernatürlichen, wunderbaren Lebens.
Ein einziger, großer Organismus.
Alles ist im Überfluss vorhanden.
Testsequenz erfolgreich.
Wo gibt's denn nun was zu jagen?
Alle Systeme auf Standby.
Yeah, so this theater project was a lot of fun, and like when it happened, it was still before like the product was ready. So yeah, all the machines we used were prototypes, and they didn't look like that, but the technology was the same. And before I started to sell these units initially on Kickstarter, I took some time as well with Christian or Tyson for another project. So we built a music machine for Audi for the main showroom in Munich on the airport. And the idea was to make an instrument out of Audi car parts. So we had some elements like xylophone bars and some parts from a drum kit, but then as well parts from Audi car, which we incorporated to build a really nice music box. And so yeah, this is how it looked. And then there's like another group of friends, because I'm originally from close to Munich, and was always connected with the people from No Twist and Lalipuna. Another group of friends is the band called Uazino, and one guy from the No Twist actually. They got also prototypes from us, and they're using the system since now like 5 years almost for their performances. see there's like these two performers sitting in front of each other, and around they have like all these little machines playing with them. And that's actually one important thing. It's not about replacing humans making music, but giving new possibilities. So like play acoustic instruments maybe faster than a human could do it, but less perfect, maybe. But visualize how the music is done. So it's really nice for like this project from Yoasino. That you see always there's something going on, and there's some small robots playing around the performance. So it's like amplifying the connection between performer and audience. So it's like very playful and like telling the story of their music in another way, instead of just having laptop on stage and like the audience facing the band. Yeah. This is from my Kickstarter campaign. So I tried to build this basic setup to explain how the whole system works. And yeah, try to have a really clean aesthetic to focus on showing the different objects and show that you can basically use everything to make music, not only instruments, but also objects. So yeah, we used laboratory glasses and tuned them in different tones. Then we had drums. Then we had this domino wooden box from a €1 store in Cottbus-Dam. And yeah, we tried to just show that you can use everything and also connect multiple machines. So like what we did in theater, having 300 motors, you could do that also with the Automat Toolkit. You could chain a lot of the controllers and grow bigger and bigger over time, but start with 12 or even less motors. Yeah, if you want, you can also have a look. Just check out the unit. Yeah, I'm gonna quickly show you a part of the Kickstarter video. I'm Johannes, I'm a creative technologist from Berlin. I always had a passion for music. I was teaching for a couple of years with vinyl and then with digital tools as well. So I wanted to go out of the computer, I wanted to go away from screen. Like I want to enable people to make music in this hands-on fashion. The Automat is a controller to control motors, like to bang on stuff or to control acoustic instruments with MIDI signals. You can simply plug in your iPhone or iPad or MIDI sequencer or keyboard or laptop, and then you can hook up to 12 motors and play on objects or like acoustic instruments and make crazy sound. The toolkit comes with everything you need, so the motors are included, the mounting stuff is included, so you have everything to get started to create music machines. You can basically use everything to create sound together with the toolkit. You can use your Club Mate bottle, your beer bottle, you can use what you find in your basement, and then there's adapters like for microphone stands to play your drum kit, so you have a ready-to-go toolkit for creating percussive sounds. Yeah, I'm always talking about MIDI, and we are here in SchneidersLaden, and there's quite a lot of Eurorack and modular gear. And when you had the unit in your hands, there you see this little wooden part on the side. So like usually the controller just comes plain with this steel case with aluminum faceplate, but there's a connector on the side. So all the units we have out there since 2 years, they have this extension port, and this wooden piece on the side is one of the extensions we're gonna release So this extension is actually for sequencing, but there will also be extension for modular input. So there's not only MIDI. In the future, you can also go from your rack directly into the Automat. And yeah, so we're having a real world modular with motors basically, and then you can connect it to your Eurorack modular. And the idea of making music in this kind of fashion with like objects and like mechanical like setups also brought me then to China 2 years ago with an invitation from Goethe Institute. And the universal language music connected me with actually 6 Chinese artist groups. So we had a workshop there for 3 days, building different setups with these artist groups from China in Beijing. And then the result was like a performance night Saturday evening, where all these bands showed what they made during the workshop. And this was a really nice experience because like they also have a totally different approach of rhythm and like instruments they use. So it was like quite a different to Berlin techno electronic music scene. With a tap dancing group and like very different also like how they initially like put the product out of the box and made it useful for them. And we also have a small video for this.
我觉得它不是一个单纯的乐器吧，它可能是一个思考的方式。
My name is Johannes Lobila. I'm a creative technologist from Berlin in Germany, and we are here in the Beijing Goethe Institute to do a workshop with Dadamachines. So I want to make music tangible again. I want to make music visual again. So it's not only about sound, it's about making music visible for you. The Dadamachines Automat Toolkit is a toolkit to build instruments. So you can control the real world with MIDI signals.
给每一个做音乐人开了一扇新的门。
Be able to play freely and try some stuff out live really, then I really like to use Dadamachines because it helps me to like get out of my comfort zone and whenever there's nobody around, it's really interesting to see just like really what people do and not only communicate through words, but like just like use your hands and just move objects.
你一旦拿到它，你就会有非常大的野心，你想拿这么一台机器来操控这世界上任何一个可能会出声的东西。
It's been always my dream to connect friends from Germany and China, so I initiated the Dadamachines project.
特别是在音乐领域，一般大家能见到的形式可能更多的是巡演呀，或者是这种单向的传播。所以呢，这一次能够通过 Dadamachines 能做一次密集的两方的合作的一个项目，是我们最大的一个初衷。
像一般我是用 Ableton Live 来进行音乐创作，但是通过 Dadamachines 呢，迫使我去把一些音色和一些细节考虑得非常的周全，用实际的材料，它的声音听起来非常的真实，这一点给这个电子音乐增加了更多的空间性。
Dadamachines 更像是一个机器人，它在声音结构上更加的稳定。如果用身体去演奏，你会对你的身体控制还有一些感性的东西在里边，但是这个你把感性的东西融入到一个理性的控制当中，这种体验是全新的。
I think it has been a great project with a great success. It is extremely important not only to talk about things but also do things and make it happen. And therefore, I'm also very happy that we came to a great performance night that allowed us to showcase what can be actually achieved with a small budget, a small amount of people involved, but with a high passion.
Yeah, now we have batch 2, and for batch 2 also short before we finish production now of the second series, because we have been sold out for a year actually since last October. We had the Firmware 2.0, which now has velocity, so like all this what happened with Goethe Institute and before also for theater, we basically had only on-off, so like we didn't have the possibility for dynamics besides in Ableton changing the note lengths, which allowed to have kind of dynamic playback of the mallets and the triggers, but most musicians like who got the toolkit before, they didn't go that far that they had access basically to use like dynamics, because it was just too much effort you had to put in to change the note lengths of every motor. And now with the new firmware, where a friend of mine, Jelle, who is also here tonight, helped building the firmware, and we have basically now a tuning tool where you can set for every trigger the range of the possible velocity. Yeah, and here's some pictures from production from last week and this week. And yeah, we are actually not like many other companies building the products in China. Even if I've been there a couple of times now, we have the production happening in Thüringen, so like 300 kilometers from here. Some parts come from China, and it's, to be honest, too many parts for the product. I think only if you do the product for the first time, you do something with that many parts, and in the future will definitely try to make things a bit more simple for myself. But it's great that I think that the toolkit is there with all the options, and we actually want to create even more options and also offer them next to the toolkits here in the shop. So have LED strips if you want to like have a setup where light is more important than just creating sound. And we want to have new mounting options for drum kits, for example. So it's like there's all these ideas, but looking back now, like people have it for 2 years. We see also that people sometimes need more help, or they want to have new options, or they just want to have 12 of the mallets and not 2, which come in the toolkit. So it's like about giving the people the possibility to create really their specialized setup and not sending them to the makerspace to build stuff themselves, because we have all the designs are actually online, they're open source, so you could create everything or modify it yourself. but yeah, most people, I think, they want to make music and not like recreate the original designs I made. So it's like also a story of learning how to make music in this fashion, which is quite different to like using only the computer and your DAW or your rack. Yeah, like we can have a small demo as well. So this is actually something we recently started to work on. So this is just a standard launch pad, and the controller, what you have here on the side, this little wooden thing, is like translating actually the launch pad into a sequencer, so a standalone sequencer. And I think this is a really nice thing, because like before, like there's the Beatster Pro and there's other sequencers out there, but a lot of them, they're not easy to access, or they're not easy to use, like the polyend sequencer over there, this long grid sequencer you see here, is one of the few where I have a good overview and you can make drums in like in an accessible way. But this is a quite expensive machine, so we thought like, hey, it makes something which is affordable to make a self-contained system, like a robotic drum machine out of the Automat Toolkit. So like this extension, which will be available very soon, allows to have a like standard launch pad, and then like you don't need Ableton anymore, or yeah. So yeah, we have accent or normal steps. We have polymeter, so you can also change the playhead per track. We can mute tracks. So yeah, there's 64 steps. So like we not only have the 8 steps you see on one page. You can have a couple of pages. But this is all still work in progress. So there will be more features in the final firmware, and we hope also like when we open source this, there's people gonna add their own features. So like we luckily already have a nice small community of people helping, also building things for Dadamachines. So the firmware 2.0 was also only possible because one user from Canada actually helped building that, because he made a custom firmware for himself, and then he contacted me, and then we worked together actually for a year to finish like the firmware for everyone. And yeah, I'm gonna show you more from this. Yeah, but there's another idea actually, like starting to make hardware. What I did 4 or 5 years ago. You also need to make a lot of steps with bureaucracy, and like you need to learn a lot of things, how to make a product happen. And my idea was to actually open up Dadamachines like a label, like a record label for other people to create products. So like this extension we're gonna launch is like one collaboration. We already launched one product, like a record or hardware record, but it's like a product beginning of this year. So there's like the idea to have this platform, Dadamachines, as a platform, and release products on Dadamachines. So if you have an idea, you work on something, you want to like share with other musicians, so they have a new instrument. My idea was you don't need to create your own brand, but you could contact me and then we could work together to sell it through our web shop, to have it then in SchneidersLaden maybe in the future, or other shops we're working with, and then also, yeah, we could use our production partners. And yeah, this is one of the things I'm also working on, besides trying to document the stuff I'm working on in the best way and put it on GitHub. So if you're familiar with writing code, or you do your own hardware, you can find most of our things we're working on GitHub. For example, this is the one product which was a collaboration with a developer here from Berlin. You can find all the designs for this board online, which is more not an instrument, but like a core or a development platform for new products. And I hope we're gonna see some nice finished instruments for a musician and everyone basically out there in the future. Yeah, what else? I'm also working on installation sometimes, so not only doing Dadamachines. This was a kinetic display for the Biennale in Shenzhen in China 2 years ago. And maybe some of you have seen this large sequencer. I was helping with, like there's an agency here in Berlin called Neuland von Excel, and they contacted me, and then I did the electronics for the sequencer, and then some other friends did the software. And it was a short but very, very fun project. And yeah, now maybe you want to play a bit more with the sequencer, or I don't know. Yeah, as Jelle did the software, maybe he can show you some of the features.
So yeah, good. So yeah, we're gonna launch this new thing soon. Oh, this is not great. Which is making use of the extension port on the Automat, and the goal is to make the Automat standalone, so we can use existing MIDI controllers like the Launchpad or a Monome grid or whatever you want to use to turn the Automat into a standalone music instrument. While we're building this, we actually discovered that hey, this is actually super useful, like being able to turn a Launchpad into a sequencer. And so we decided, I'm not sure, can we make this public yet? We're gonna turn this into a Eurorack module as well. So we're gonna turn Launchpads into sequencers for Eurorack modules. So you have like 8 triggers and 8 notes out into your system. We're currently also thinking of turning it into a standalone thing, so you can easily turn your Launchpad into a MIDI sequencer as well. We're gonna make it fully scriptable, so you can make your own sequencers and you can like craft it the way you want. Like we're probably gonna use Arduino or Lua to do this. Currently it's Arduino, but we want to make it as easy as possible for you to start coding and like tweaking the sequencer at first, and then perhaps build completely other sequencers. Currently the functionality is, it's like what you kind of know from a sequencer, so you can like, you have 64 steps per track, 8 tracks. You can adjust the tempo. You have MIDI sync in. So you have accents, 2 levels. You can quickly mute tracks, which is great for performance. We have at the moment 32 patterns which you can store and recall, so you can like have kind of like create songs on it as well, so more for studio use. And we have polymeter on it, which is something you don't find often on sequencers, on hardware sequencers, which allows you to have like different meters in your sequences. Yeah, so we're gonna port this sequencer also to a Eurorack module. It will be very slim. It will be relatively cheap to other Eurorack modules out there because you need to bring the interface yourself. And am I forgetting something?
Show it.
Okay, yeah, let me. Okay, so let's just start with a simple 4 to the floor. So what we can do is like, this is just like the 8 steps format. We can switch to the second page, which is, this is step 8 to 16, or 9 to 16. And so what we can do is like, we can enable the rest of the 8 tracks. So you see the playhead is like on the second page for now. So and this is very convenient because you can, if you want to have 4 to the floor for the first couple of bars and then have the last bar be another rhythm or whatsoever, you can easily program it this way. You can also, of course, have it in a different meter. So okay, perhaps less cowbell. We can easily mute things, which is great for the performance aspect of things. And that's it so far. You can also read and write patterns, but I won't go into that now. I have some crazy ideas of alternative sequencers, but I'll save that for another time, perhaps. So it's all open source. It will be quite easy to flash new firmware on it. We're probably gonna make it so scriptable that you can just like use your web interface. You have your code editor there. You can change bits. You can see other users' patches, and you can play with other MIDI controllers, etc., etc. So you bring the interface, and we give you all the in and outputs you want. Cool. I'll give it back to you.
So yeah, maybe some of you also saw that we launched or like showed a big grid sequencer on Superboost, which is right now a project we paused, but it will be coming out sometime. I can't tell you when, but before we're gonna work again on that, there's also another friend in Munich. So like it's really, Dadamachines is about this community of people working on musical instruments. And there's a friend Marcus, he's doing an app called Octacron. Maybe some of you have already seen it. And it's also a grid-based sequencer for the iPad in this case. And with 8 tracks as well, like we have it on the Launchpad right now. But we're gonna have it actually as a app for Dadamachines, or like as a Dada's sequencer app very soon, with then 12 tracks, because we have 12 outputs. And yeah, the features are quite similar to what we have on the sys for the Launchpad. But it's just like if you're not like want to use a MIDI controller, or like you have an iPad, this could be also an option for you. And then you have Ableton Link, and you can integrate with your with Ableton on your laptop, or with there's also audio unit, so you can sequence other synths or drum synths on the iPad at the same time as playing physical drums with the Automat Toolkit. So for me, it's always about creating this whole process from like making the rhythm, like, and then creating your setup. So like we want to have this like all tied together as a solution that works well together. So also I want to have this as an iPhone app in the future, because we're also working on a smaller version of the Automat. So like if you have then the smaller version of the Automat maybe in your backpack with a battery pack and your iPhone, you can just go somewhere and I don't know, play like Admiral's Bridge as your drum machine, for example. So yeah, are there any questions? Yeah.
Maybe big question is like if you use in the studio, it also means you have to like mic up everything. Kind of,
yeah.
It adds to that. So what do you usually use? Like, or what do people use most of the time? Like contact mics or like?
It's quite good to use contact mics. So like the Chroma Field Kit, for example, works really well together with the Automat Toolkit. We used that also in the past ourselves, because it has like 4-channel piezo mic mixer, and then like I worked with Hauschka, the pianist player, last year in winter. They just use normal mics, really good mics, and then said they had more possibilities actually with that than using contacts mics. So it's also like up to the technician or musician what they or what should be achieved. I mean, you can also just use it acoustic. It's really depending on the setup. But I think there's like so many ways to use this, like in art installations or like for sampling. Then you want, of course, to have mics, or just play it live. Any other questions?
I'm wondering about how you programmed the step sequencer onto the. Sorry, I can't remember what it's called.
On the extension, you mean?
No, on the
Oh.
yeah, the
Here.
controller there, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, this little extension here. So this is still just a prototype. You can have just a USB connection to your laptop and then upload and change the code. But the desktop version we want to have is actually meant for people working on sequences with us, or like who want to build their own sequences. So it has 2 USB connections, so you can have the launchpad connected and then MIDI out and connected to your computer. So you can basically, or the goal is you can work on sequences like very instant, and you don't need to replug. Yeah, so it's like should be like as convenient as possible to change and try ideas. Yeah, plug and play. No, it's like this is actually creating the sequencer out of the launchpad, as the launchpad is.
Does that work on the actual launchpad? Innovation allows you to do that, does it?
No, it's like you can control the status of the launchpad via MIDI messages. So it's basically we are talking to the launchpad with MIDI. Yeah, so it's like, I mean, a lot of people I think did that in the past as well with Max MSP, for example, and our approach is similar, but it's in hardware, so you don't need a laptop anymore. And this is, a lot of times I'm trying to get away from the laptop, actually. Any other questions? Or yeah, actually, that's kind of a funny story. because the first name I wanted to have was Machines. And some of you might know the band Tok and Sophie O. So I met with Benjamin, who's part of Tok, and they actually also built instruments in the past, but I didn't know that that he was actually working with MFB, other Berlin company, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we saved the name for that, and like this is also the reason why you can't really use the name." And then I was like, "Oh shit, what should I do?" And then I wanted to have a name which is phonetic, so like da, tok, something which is like talking, like like the mallets on the objects, and then I thought also the connection with the art movement Dada is really nice, because it's like everything is allowed. It's not too serious. So like we have all these startups here in Berlin which always tell you need our product to have like a lucky life in the future. You need to have this smart home product, and for me it's just about fun, and I wanted to give people like a product which is maybe not needed, but yeah, they can have fun. So it's Dada. It's like, yeah.
I was just thinking that, you know, with the open source philosophy, have you heard of VCV Rack?
Yes.
Do a module for that and then use that as an output.
Yeah. Yeah, I think VCV Rack could also make use of some hardware interfaces to integrate with your rack, for example. Or maybe there's a possibility to also build something for VCV Rack connected with our sequencer. But I didn't use it myself in the past, but I know that, for example, Peter Kern is doing workshops sometimes here in Berlin for VCV Rack. And it's probably the most affordable platform to go into modular. Anything else? I'm not a musician myself, to be honest. Like, I'm trying to build products for people to make music. Yeah. Yeah, if you want to play later, I think you should just come here, and we can put the launch pad in front, and then everybody can play.
When it's available?
Yeah, I think I said it in the first sentence. We are like I'm still stressed for production, like shipping all the packages to Thüringen and getting them together. But like, yeah, tomorrow is the day we have the packages leaving Thüringen, and then I hope we have the setup in the shop here. So we're actually gonna build an installation in this room where the beginner workshop was today. So from next week there will also be this like first time somewhere out of our studio or office to play with a physical setup here in the shop. And yeah, there will be some toolkits available here in the shop and online on SchneidersLaden web shop. Yeah.
Can you show me how the sequencer works? Because I probably have to explain it sometimes. Okay, should I?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so this is like each track for the
Yeah,
instrument.
yeah.
It's going like 1 to 8. How do you
1
make
to
the
8.
second page?
Here. Yeah. Yeah, and you have up to 8 pages.
And individual pattern length?
Yes, with here lengths. Yeah.
Oh, that's simple. Yeah.
It's quite simple. And the tempo here, so you see actually on the grid, you see the numbers.
Yeah. And you said before there are like individual
Yeah, we can go quite fast, so like 1000 BPM is not a problem. Yeah, thanks everyone for coming tonight. Yeah.
I've never used the launchpad before actually, and I saw that in the app you could like choose a level of velocity for each accent.
Yeah.
But on the launchpad you can do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we have accent, but if you use Ableton, you have like 127 steps in velocity, but I think we can get, with our new firmware, we can get like 30 to 40 steps of velocity. But yeah, for drums, I think accent is enough. And like the really the hands-on and tangible thing with the launchpad, I personally like a bit more than with the iPad. Play? Faster?